Home, traveling around the state, getting a chance to meet with a lot of different law enforcement agencies, anything from police officers in various cities to game and fish wardens as well too, who in fact are law enforcement officers, and they can give you a ticket for any violation. I've learned that through the Game and Fish Commission. But we're talking about those and some other big important topics as well this morning. We're talking about the Iranian and the money thing as well. But let's talk about their meetings that you've had. You've been to North Little Rock Police and talking about how the community policing is going. What are you finding when you talk to the law enforcement agencies?
Well, the first thing I want to do with all these law enforcement officers, whether it's police officers in cities like North Little Rock or Jonesboro, wildlife officers with the Game and Fish Commission, sheriff's deputies, is to express my appreciation for what they do. You know, not only as a father and a husband, but also as a senator representing 3 million Americans, or 3 million Arkansans. We're all very grateful and appreciative for the fact that they put their lives on the line every day when they go out their front door.
They're glad to see you, glad to hear that from you.
Yeah, and it's been a tough couple of years for law enforcement, not just with the rioting in places like Ferguson and Milwaukee and Baltimore, but police officers being assassinated on the streets in Baton Rouge and Dallas. And I would just encourage every Arkansan, if they get a chance, whether it's at lunch or on the streets, if they see a police officer, just thank them for what they do. It does make a difference. They serve the vast majority of law-abiding Arkansans, but they have to spend a lot of their time dealing with the criminal element that threatens us all.
I have a friend who's a state trooper, and he says every time he goes out, people are buying, even he's been out, even in non-uniform, they know who he is and they're buying his dinner. He appreciates it, but he's like, he doesn't want it, but they're, it's so nice of him.
But what police officers want more than anything, that from what I've heard over the month of visiting with them all across the state, is support and cooperation and assistance. Again, they have to deal most of the time with the criminal element, but they're serving the vast majority of Arkansans who are law-abiding, and to avoid the kind of situations we've seen in places outside of Arkansas, our police officers here work very intensely with communities to get their support and information and assistance, not just to investigate and punish crime, but preferably to stop crime before it even happens in our communities.
So you have about a couple more weeks before you have to head back to D.C. Still got more stops to go to?
Yeah. So today I'm going to be visiting with prosecuting attorneys. Tomorrow I'm going to be visiting with the federal prison over in East Arkansas, again, as part of my effort to travel the state and visit with law enforcement officials throughout the entire criminal justice system to get their perspective and express my appreciation for them.
All right. Let's move in to a little of the international relations. Now, I know you're pretty outspoken against some of the things that the Obama administration has done, especially here lately with the transfer of $400 million in cash to the Ayatollahs. Do you feel like you have a vindication moment, kind of like a I told you so kind of moment almost with some of this, or how do you feel?
Well, I'd rather not say I told you so. I'd rather just Americans be kept safe. And what the president did with this ransom payment has made life more dangerous for Americans. In fact, just this week, the State Department issued a warning for Americans of Iranian descent not to travel to Iran to visit family, for instance. And I know Arkansans of Iranian descent who have these very worries. Back in January, when we paid this $400 million in cold hard cash, at the very same time that we got 4 Americans released, it was clear that it was a ransom payment. The president can say all along, or all he wants, that it's not ransom, but what matters is what the Ayatollahs think and what gangsters and terrorists all around the world think, and they believe it is a ransom. And just last week, the State Department announced that it was leverage. I don't know what the difference between leverage and ransom is. I don't think the Ayatollahs or anybody else who would take Americans hostage know much difference either.
Well, if they admit that it's leverage, in your mind, do you see that as an admission that it was ransom, or?
I can't see it as any other way. If they say that we didn't give this money to the Ayatollahs until they released the 4 American hostages at the time, that's almost the dictionary definition of ransom. I don't know many Arkansans that would see a difference either, and they would see that that's doing exactly what President Obama said the United States doesn't do, which is negotiate for the release of hostages, because we encourage people like the Ayatollahs around the world to take more hostages, which they have in fact done since January.
It's happened since then, you say?
Yes.
What can be done differently to stop that, to keep people from the Ayatollahs or other terroristic organizations, actually to stop them from getting hostages? hostage? What can you do?
Well, we have to make it very clear as elected leaders that this is a one-time aberration. The United States is not going to engage in this kind of behavior in the future. More broadly, I think we have to walk away from the nuclear deal with Iran. They're not upholding their own obligations. They're testing ballistic missiles that are designed to threaten the United States and our allies. They're still trying to procure materials that would be used in a nuclear weapons program. But even if they upheld their obligations under the deal, they'd still be on the path to a nuclear weapon in just 10 to 15 years. So I think this was a bad deal from the very beginning. These ransom payments are just part of all the problems with the deal. It's time that we walk away from the deal and that we draw a firm line that the Ayatollahs will never be allowed to have a nuclear weapon.
All right, Senator Cotton, thank you very much. I have one more quick question for you, though. It's a really important one. I work with a lot of Cubs and Cardinals fans here, and there is a correct answer, by the way. Cubs are probably going to win the division. Who's your team, Cubs or Cardinals? There's a correct answer.
Between those two, I'll take the Cardinals. Although I think the Cardinals are going to make it to the wild card this year.
That's right. Thank you very much. Correct.